Welcome back to the Bold Moves podcast. We are so glad that you have joined us today. We are rocking and rolling. We're taking on this idea of anger today. We're talking about the detonator, that person who just goes off like a grenade in your life.
Like a bomb.
Like a bomb. Let's just be careful how we're talking about bombs right now. I don't want that to get weird. But yes.
Are we on an airplane?
Yeah.
You can't say bomb on an airplane.
Bomb. Is that an old Ben Stiller? I feel like,
yeah, I think so.
That made me laugh immediately. Fantastic. We're off to a great start. Yes. So anger, it can sneak up on you. I think some people struggle with this more than others. Either you probably are a detonator, you struggle with anger, or you know one. I think that's probably fair. And I think navigating how we handle the detonators in our life or even our own anger really helps us on that journey of becoming more like Jesus. Because how we deal with others, how we deal with ourselves, it's all about becoming more like him and getting a handle on those areas in our life that we struggle with. Yeah. And so anger is one of those things that can creep up on you. Talk to me. Are you the detonator, or do you deal with a detonator in your life? Let's talk about it. We're going there. Let's talk.
I like to think that I'm pretty patient.
There you
go. To be honest.
Good.
Until I'm not.
I resonate with that.
Like, I have a pretty long fuse, but man, once that fuse hits the end of it, sometimes it can happen really fast.
Yes.
And I'm a dad, and our girls, our oldest is 3.5. So, I'm not a really experienced dad. And this has been a struggle for me. It is my goal to never lose it on my daughters.
Yeah.
But it is so
they can test your patience.
It is so
they can
hard
test your
sometimes.
Patience.
And I'm working on that. I'm trying to get better at that. Trying to like use my head as I'm going through some of those situations.
There you go. Keep your cool.
Who keeps their cool more, you or Kenzie?
Look, we have this agreement with each other that if the other is losing it, then somebody's got to step in and help.
Right.
So
that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Because we both have the tendency to. Kenzie's a very quick to anger. No, she doesn't always get that way, but she's pretty quick to react on things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Kristin, where are you at on that spectrum? Where do you fall on that?
It's scenario. Like sometimes my patience is really thin, especially when it's something that I know my kids can do this, or my husband can do this. So but for the most part, I think I'm a sunny side up type person where I see the best in things.
Yeah.
Although I can be pretty critical. So
it just depends on the day.
That's anger though.
Yeah, that's true. Those are different things.
So I don't know. Somewhere in the middle. I probably lose it the most with my kids.
That's probably a good thing.
But
I think there is something about family, kids that brings out the worst in you from time to time.
Absolutely.
I'll just be completely vulnerable with you and honest. This might change the way that you think about me. So I'm a really super laid back guy. I'm very, very positive and really nice, really carefree, really easygoing. And like Corey said, until I'm not. Like if you I'll take it and take it and take it. And then it's like, no, enough. I'll never forget this. About 3 months ago, my kids had just been slowly grinding me down. It was like, oh, guys, stop. And it was just different things all across the spectrum. Not one particular thing, but it was adding up throughout the day. We got home. We had brought, I think it was Popeyes of random stuff. We brought Popeyes home. We're eating it around the dinner table. And the last straw for me, after all the bickering and the little things that had been happening, one of my kids spilled their Coke, spilled their drink across the table, just all over me. And it was one of those things where I had reached the end of my rope, and I had never done this before.
To enjoy Popeyes.
I never have done this before. I was like, I picked up my Popeyes chicken sandwich and I just slammed it on the floor. And I was like, I can't take this anymore. And I just went outside and started walking. And when I came back in, it was like 10 minutes later, everybody's just kind of quiet and the sandwich is still on the floor. Oh, man. So, that was my thing. I'm like, oh, what has happened right now?
Yeah, for us, it's always something like, okay, put on your shoes. It's time to put on your shoes.
Yes.
We need to get going. Okay, it's time to put on your shoes. It's time to get going.
Same thing over and
just
over.
So you know, Daddy said, please put on your shoes. It's time to get going. Put on your bleeping shoes. Come on.
It's so good. And there's something about when you have that burst of anger, your anger got the best of you. It's like you come back and you feel like an idiot. Like when I walked back in the house after I stupidly threw it was a delicious sandwich. I threw it on the ground. I walked in, my boys looked at me, and I just everybody started laughing because it was just so dumb. Like, nice throw, Dad.
I have a friend that was so angry out in her garage, and there was a Halloween pumpkin bucket, and she kicked it, like smashed it down, but her foot got stuck in it.
Yes.
And so it was just even worse. Those moments are fun.
Since we're just telling stories, I can tell this story. This happened at Crossroads, and I think you were there for this.
Fill me in. Let's go.
We had this is actually it's coming up soon here at Crossroads. We're gonna have fantasy football.
Oh yeah, I know exactly what you're about to say. Yes, we are.
And listen, it hasn't always been the most well organized league.
Yep, that's true.
Let's just be honest about that. To the point that sometimes you don't even tell the participants when the draft is going to be happening.
He's still really upset.
He's still angry.
We were all together on a Wednesday morning meeting, and I heard what was happening. I'm like, the draft happened last night, and nobody bothered to freaking tell me that the draft was happening. And I heard it, and I realized what happened, and I accused it was Dustin.
It was Dustin. I remember that. Yeah.
And I took my brand new coffee cup and threw it across the room because I was so mad.
Because he didn't tell you that the draft
I was in the room.
You had to auto draft.
Corey said, the draft was last night. He did. He threw his mug and just walked out. We were like, oh. Did you not come back and win that league that year? You won the league.
So
see,
that's incredible.
It's great.
You never know what's going to happen. Actually, I had a terrible team, and the waiver wire was my friend that year.
That's good. So good. That's so good. Okay, so when we talk about anger, there are going to be moments in our lives, every one of us, where we're going to have to deal with our anger or the anger of others. There's just moments in life where it overwhelms us. And I think that how we deal with our anger and the way that we can control it matters. Because think about it. How many people have just made stupid choices, or the things that you say when you're angry? Like, those are when the worst parts of us are exposed. Like, we say hateful and hurtful things. Right. We respond in ways that we immediately regret. Now I don't have a Popeye's chicken sandwich to eat anymore. I'm going to be hungry the rest of the night. We just do stupid things. Yeah. And so I think it's important to recognize that when we are angry, when we're emotional, you got to take that time to cool off. Like, separate yourself from the situation, take a deep breath, get some perspective, and then re-engage. I think that's first and foremost important. That's going to save you a lot of grief. But I think that there's another piece to that of if you're constantly getting angry over and over and over about the same thing and you're not getting any resolution, I think it's that unresolved anger in our lives that really can build roots into our heart and even our soul. And create bitterness and just rage and hatred. And that is exactly the opposite of the place where God calls us to live and to be. And that can be dangerous in our relationship with God. It can be dangerous in our relationship with others. And so I think it's worth talking about how do we respond in difficult moments and resolving that anger in our lives. Because we deal with hurt. Yeah. We deal with difficult situations and difficult people.
Yeah, because what you're not saying is that all anger is bad.
Yes. Right? Correct.
Jesus is an example of that.
Yes.
He went into the temple courts, saw what was happening, and decided, tables. You know what, this is the time. It's I've had enough of this.
Yes.
It's time to make a scene and show everybody what's what. And he did. But there are so many more instances of him being patient and waiting. And you know that somebody like Peter, for example,
driven him crazy.
Had to just grate on him. Come on, Peter.
Yeah.
But instead, he always offered grace, always was patient.
Yeah.
But it's not to say that all anger is bad. Sometimes it's important. It's just kind of like, you just don't want to overuse it. Like if it's a scenario where every so often you just kind of lose your cool, maybe that makes an impact on the people that you're with. And they're like, you know what? Maybe we were not being the best people that we could have been.
Yeah.
But if it's every single time, one after another, it's just it just becomes background noise and nobody's paying any attention at that point.
Yeah. And there's a deeper problem that needs to be resolved.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. I love what Jesus teaches about this, and I don't want to sound preachy, even though I am a pastor. I'm going to read these scriptures. What I love about the teachings of Jesus is he always, especially in the Sermon on the Mount, New Testament teaching, he takes the principles from the Old Testament and makes them extraordinarily relevant to our lives in a way that you can't really ignore anymore, you know? And specifically when he talks about anger in Matthew 5, he says, "You have heard that our ancestors were told you must not murder. If you commit murder, you are subject to judgment." Well, everybody goes, well, that's obvious. Like, don't kill people. Like, got it. We got it. Yes, Jesus, we can do that one. But then he takes it to the next level. He says, "But I say, if you are even angry with someone, you are subject to judgment. If you call someone an idiot, you are in danger of being brought before the court. And if you curse someone, you are in danger of the fires of hell." It's like, whoa. Can we just go back to the murder thing? Like, oh, no. And so it's interesting to me because the resolution for him that he gives is like, how do you resolve this? How do you not allow this to grow into something deeper and more difficult to deal with in your life and more painful? He says, "So if you are presenting a sacrifice at the altar in the temple and you suddenly remember that someone has something against you, like you've acted out, you've offended someone, leave your sacrifice there at the altar. Go and be reconciled to that person. Then come offer your sacrifice to God." I think that is such practical. I mean, obviously Jesus said it, so it's going to be really good word, right? But I mean, let's put that in today's words. If you're coming to church on Sunday and you're like, "I'm ready to worship, let's do this, let's lean into my relationship with Jesus," and then you realize while you're trying to sing a song, "Oh, I had a horrible, angry outburst this week. I deeply offended some people in my lives."
Even on the drive to church.
Which is
your spouse
most likely
or your
to happen.
kids.
Yes. He's saying if you're dealing with that level in your heart where I need to go make that right, he's saying just leave the service. Like go out in the lobby, make the call, pull that person aside. "I'm sorry," give him a hug, and then take care of that and go back in. It's so good.
I'm assuming you would prefer they do that during the worship part of the session.
Yes,
service.
Handle that during the worship, not the sermon. Yeah.
Oh my.
But I mean, when we allow that unresolved anger again to grow roots in our lives, man, that's when it gets really unhealthy. That's when I can become a really difficult person and really cause a lot of pain with my anger. And so it's so important to make sure that your relationship with God is up to date. It's so important to make sure that your relationship with others, the people who are closest to you, is up to date so that those unresolved issues don't linger and grow roots.
Yeah, when we talk about the difficult person being the angry person, I mean, every single person struggles with anger in some form.
At some level.
Sometimes when I think about dealing with a difficult person that's the angry person, it's this just angry heart or attitude that they constantly live out. Like, I know that I have people in my life who don't really know the hope of Jesus, and they live in this life of anger instead of like that slow thing. Thankfully that God is slow to anger. But like, I don't know, just dealing with that person. I know my husband, he works in sales and he deals with these lost, angry people that get in his face and yell at him, and just the patience that he has to have there, or just how he approaches that person it matters.
It does.
So I don't know, like, I'm just thinking about like, well, how am I angry? I have my outbursts here and there or whatever, but there are people that walk through daily that angry life, lost and angry.
Yeah. And I think patience in those moments is extraordinarily important. You have to recognize what are the things that trigger my outrages and recognize, okay, I have to be patient. I have to be strategic in these moments to get a grip on my anger. I think that's fair.
Well, I think you nailed it, Kristin. It's often people who maybe don't have that personal relationship with Jesus because he changes your heart in that way, right? I mean, we could tell all kinds of stories of people who have had really big issues, sometimes in the area of anger, and just a relationship with Jesus and walking with him changes that.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean that it goes away forever,
right?
But it changes it, and it means that maybe you're not quite so quick to go there.
Yeah, and I mean, well, that's the difference. Like with John's scenario, dealing with these people that he works alongside, and he's not going to have those outbursts, even though they do, because he knows Jesus. He knows the heart of what he should be in witnessing to these people.
Well, it's part of our testimony. And when we fall into that trap of letting our anger overwhelm us, that's when we lose our testimony. Honestly, that's the perfect segue. we came across this video, Corey, of this pastor that just loses it on his people. And listen, people are people. Like, I'm a pastor. There's people that drive me crazy sometimes, but you can't let that emotion overwhelm you. You're following Jesus. You're trying to be a good example. And man, that'll get tested sometimes. But this guy loses his mind. We have to watch this video. Some random guy comes forward while he's preaching.
Says, oh, here we go. God's not three persons. God's only one person. What?
It's about to unravel.
Hey, sit down. Sit down. What are you coming up here to do? You want to come take over the service? Huh? What do you want? What?
I just want a prayer read.
Get out of here.
Can I get a little grace?
No, you can't. No, you get out of here. Get him out of here.
You understand?
Drag this bozo out.
Oh my goodness.
Pull him out. Hey, help him out. Get him out.
Let him walk. You can walk in the zone and we'll get him out of here real quick.
This is where anger's taking over in a bad way. Yeah, this is not what you want.
And you know what? Anybody wants to come up here and take over the service? We'll throw you out of here, buddy.
Oh, my word.
This church is not a free-for-all. This isn't an open mic. This isn't a karaoke bar. Okay?
Amen,
I'm the man of God here. I meet the qualifications. I run this church. And if you don't like it, then get out.
Oh, wow.
This is not some church where every first-time visitor and brand new believer and people who've never even read the Bible are going to come up and take over the service.
Oh, my goodness.
He's not done. He's not done. He's still going.
Wow.
That goes on for a while.
Yeah, it's painful to watch. And my thing is, I mean, how much regret do you have after you have an outburst where your anger takes over and you're dealing with the fallout of that? I mean, that's just one example of just like, oh no, like that hurts you. I mean, there's people that never recover from that. There's people you lose influence on when you have moments like that. And man, you might be overwhelmed in the moment, but you can't let your anger control you because it just has devastating effects. When you fall into that trap, it hurts you. It really does.
Well, and I think, I don't know, as I'm watching that too, it hurts me to watch because I'm watching the people in the room.
Oh, it's brutal.
And the people in the room are like following this guy everywhere he goes. And that's what actually probably hurts me the most is because he does have that influence and he continues to have that influence and they're just following his every move.
Yeah.
So when these people go home, what are they going to do?
Suddenly that's okay.
Yeah.
It's brutal. It's just brutal.
Yeah.
The worst and best part of that video, though, is I'm the man of God here in the middle. It's like,
this is my church.
Oh, no.
I just can't get over that mural in the back.
What are your thoughts on that? You really like it?
Well, he's either like the man of God here out in the desert, like like how Moses was, or he's in the land before time with the dinosaurs.
There should be a dinosaur back there. Yeah. Unbelievable. So we can't allow our anger to ruin our relationship with God. We can't allow our anger to ruin the influence that we have with others. I think going back to something we were talking about a couple weeks ago, when we talk about the Beatitudes and the Sermon on the Mount, the teachings of Jesus, the main teachings there, the purpose of them is for us to know how to live a life that pleases God, but also to live the life that is able to positively influence others and point them toward Jesus. And I'm telling you, when we allow the anger to overwhelm us and we allow that to become what we're known for, that ruins both of those things. And so that's why it's so important that we have self-control, that we're able to lead with patience and gentleness and kindness. It matters in those relationships. It really does.
Well, I think it makes me think about like, what are the bumper stickers you have on the back of your car as you're driving around?
Yes.
I actually have no bumper stickers, and it could be that part of the reason is so that when I'm in traffic and I lose my mind, that maybe somebody doesn't see the crossroads sticker on the back.
When you're honking at people and cutting people off. Yeah, got it.
Truthfully, that doesn't happen too often, but I think it, just like you're saying, you do lose your influence. And so like, I was just thinking about a story that in our neighborhood, we live in a subdivision, and in our backyard is a pond that's like a community pond for everybody. And for whatever reason, our HOA has not like outlawed fishing in the pond.
Oh, okay.
Which is whatever. It's kind of tacky, but it's not that big a deal. But over the summer, for whatever reason, this summer, like kids from all over the whole neighborhood started flocking to this pond, like walking through people's yards.
Okay.
And look, I take care of my yard. I try to make it look nice.
Are you becoming the old guy?
And so it's no. See, I haven't been that. That's exactly it. I could have been the get off my lawn guy, and I did ask them to leave, but not in a jerk way. Every time I've done it, I walked out and tried to have a conversation and be nice and say, "Hey, just go someplace else, not on my property, please."
That is really
and
funny.
Everybody has respected that. So I haven't lost my mind.
Okay.
Hopefully
he's got to sign up though. You just know it.
You're gonna run for HOA president, aren't you?
No comment.
I actually, so our HOA, which we have an HOA, but it's not really, it's optional. So I know.
How does that work?
I have all kinds of questions.
But anyway, so he wanted to step down, like our president. And I was like, you know what? I'll do it because all of these problems. Well, no, I'm not. But I've said to the neighbors around us, like, I'll do it because all of our problems will go away. Because I was just saying that's not a real issue. Like, the things that come up on our page, I'm like, that's not an issue.
That's hilarious. So. Yeah, it just becomes drama more than anything.
Yes,
that's hilarious. I want to wrap this up, and I want to just tie it in with this principle that we see in the book of James. James writes, and the book of James, if you ever just want just practical help for your walk with Jesus, the book of James is great for it's just great practical ideas and ways for you to live out your Christian faith. It's just a great book. But he says this in James chapter 1, it says, "This you know, my beloved brothers, everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For the anger of man does not achieve the righteousness of God." Man, that is so powerful. It's such a good principle. You've got to be quick to listen. We're so quick to respond, especially in this day and age, because you can get online and respond and make your comments immediately, and nobody cares, or you have no consequences for whatever you say. But we've got to get to that point where we're quick to listen, slow to speak. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should use those in that ratio, right? And then slow to become angry, because the anger that we exude in those moments, it does not showcase the righteousness and the holiness and the nature of God in our lives. And so I would just encourage you, if you're dealing with anger yourself, or you're trying to figure out how to deal with that angry person in your life that's always the detonator that's going off, be quick to listen, be slow to speak, be slow to anger. That is how you please God. That's how you increase your influence with others.
Yeah.
And just like if it's time to make that bold move to get a little bit better at that, just take your wins as they come. Like, don't expect that if that's you, if you are the detonator and you're the one that just immediately blows up all the time, like feel good about the fact that for the next week, if you only do it a couple of times, you made a lot of progress.
You're getting better.
A big deal.
Yeah.
And that's what walking with Jesus will help you do.
Yeah. We're slowly becoming more like him. And that's the goal.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up, I'll just say this. Thanks for joining us on Bold Moves today. And let's just take this to heart, because all of us are working on this. I'm working on it. You guys are working on it. You're going to tell people to get off your yard, but you're going to tell them to do that in a nice way, Corey. I believe
absolutely.
that. And I, as a pastor, if someone comes up for prayer, will probably do my best to not go off on them like the pastor in the video. Yeah, that'd be good. Even though I'm the man of God here.
This is my church.
Let's do our best to have some self-control, lead with kindness, and be patient. Yeah. Slow to anger, quick to listen, slow to speak. I think that's the pattern for success there. Hey, thanks for stopping by and joining us today. When it's time to make your move, make it a bold one. We'll see you next time.